Namaskar. Welcome to this session of Straight Drive. I am Sudhanshu Mani. Friends, in April 2020, I wrote about corona pandemic and tried to decode the maze of statistics. Well, I was off the mark and I have some mud on my face, certainly, but then I wrote as a rookie. Whereas nearly all the experts have made mud on their faces too, and a copious helping at that. Be that as it may, as the French would say, those carrots are cooked, so be it. Throw your mind back to May, June 2020. The number of COVID cases were increasing in India menacingly. Many reputed and knowledgeable agencies, both in India and abroad, posited that the coronavirus case count in India will keep on increasing. In spite of the 4 or 5 phases of nationwide lockdown, about 60 to 80 crore Indians, that is almost half or even more than half the country's population, was estimated to be infected with the virus by the end of 2020. While today the objective is not any blame storming, but making an analysis, an informed analysis. I am not naming any of these worthy agencies. And in any case, you can easily search them out on the web. These estimates, however, also said that it was likely that about 90% of these infected people would not even know that they had contracted the disease, as the symptoms would not show up or would not show up with any significance. Yet, even at 10%, that would indeed be declared corona positive, the number works out to 6 to 8, let us say approximately 7 crores. And even if 20% of these were to turn critical, the number of hospitalizations would have been around 1.5 crores. That is much larger than what has actually happened. And if 1.25% of them died, which is based on roughly around the case fatality rate prevailing, that would have been nearly 9 lakh dead by end of 2020, which is again much larger than what has actually happened. So what did actually happen? Look at the number of cases per day since inception on this screen, which is coming up. As you can see, after a peak of nearly 95,000 cases around mid-September, there has been a steady decline. The number dropped to approximately 12,000 and has risen to some extent in last month or so to about 25,000. But more or less, we can claim that India has effectively flattened the curve, with the fatality rate also dropping by half. And please note, this has not happened because the number of tests have gone down. The graph which is coming up on the screen would show that the slope of the tests done per day, cumulative, is more or less steady. So no use jumping the gun to claim that it was perhaps because of reduced testing. The current testing capacity in India is around 13 lakhs tests per day, much larger than it was 6 to 8 months back. And it is marginally increasing. Now let us compare it how the rest of the world has fared. So we will go to this table on the screen. These are the top 10 affected countries in the world. This includes the number of deaths, and even if some skeptics doubt our data of the number of cases, as they are wont to do, as it does not suit their ostrich-like arrogant discourse to accept the truth, let us be conscious that no government can falsify the death data so easily. I'm inclined to take it as near accurate, although I do believe that a number of cases have actually gone unreported, as the same were asymptomatic. Deaths as a function of population if you see in this table, would show that the rate in US is about 15 times, in Brazil about 10 times, and in Russia about 5 times that of India. Same would be in case of number of reported cases. So there is a global puzzlement, some mystification, some disbelief, some cynicism as to how India has managed to dramatically lower the spread and fatality rate of COVID-19 cases. Some sane commentators, though not too many, have indeed said that the credit should go to the Indian governments for being able to identify and leverage its strength to limit the spread of the infection. A disclaimer here at this point, this is not an attempt to sing kudos to or throw brickbats at the central government or state governments. We just want to understand to the extent possible how and why. As you know, the PM has been evoking our recent export of medicines and in recent months the vaccine as examples of a trustworthy India in her quest to be a vanguard in the so-called global path to help the mankind, a self-reliant India within an intertwined global platform in the spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, the world is a family. Add to that the reduction of cases in India, and that pride and passion start working with the vast populace of his admirers who find great meaning and direction in India's actions with Modi ji as the deliverer. At the same time, there is this big phalanx of his detractors, smaller in number but equally vocal and perhaps more virulent, who are ever ready with their barrage of criticism, frequently bordering on ad hominem attack. These opponents are seldom charitable enough to see anything positive in Modi's narrative and today's government and deeds. Both the groups, however, never make a true reality check and are therefore, to my mind, best ignored. In my reality check today, I bring forth some points to the viewers to consider and make their own judgment. In hindsight, certainly, while the severe lockdown of March-April proved to be a killer for the economy, caused a very shameful migrant crisis, with the governments, both central and state, seeming apathetic and loss of livelihood, and the commensurate benefits of reduced level of spread. Now, it's a matter of big debate. Not the complete lockdown, but the limited restricted lockdown based on zoning, red, orange, and green, was certainly a very wise step. This way, the economic activity could be revived gradually, but severe localized lockdown did help in containing the spread in the period, let's say, May to August, September 2020. The government response in high density urban areas, in big cities, which posed the greatest challenge, was also significant. More than that, as the spread was contained, affording a breathing space of months, health facilities really geared up to deal with what loomed large. Had that not happened, there would certainly have been chaos and mayhem. Then isolation and contact tracing of individuals who tested COVID positive and quarantining of primary high risk contacts did help, and the system delivered for warts and all. Restriction on travel was another important step, which continued well into 2021 and is still not fully deregulated. This has also greatly helped. Then the debatable shutdown of all colleges and schools for an extended period. Well, the students did suffer, but there has been a recent reopening of schools, partially, and on way to full opening. All said and done, I would say it was a good measure, and this reopening has been done only after incidents of very low number of cases recently, and this was also a major factor in containing the spread because experience has shown that schools and colleges are a big fertility ground for spread of viruses. Then the contribution of Indian industry, which responded much better than expected in terms of producing masks and PPEs and other necessities at great pace, including exports to help other countries. From a single lab that could do RT-PCR tests to nearly 2,500 in the country today, reducing the result return time, and thus making isolation and quarantine strategy more meaningful. And of course, added to that, the cautionary caller tunes on phones to heavy fines for not wearing masks, spreading public awareness about COVID risks, all this did help, notwithstanding all the violations, which were frequently highlighted by the press and media. It was not perfect, but it did help. And the most important aspect, in recent months, a remarkable vaccination drive, the biggest in the world, has already had and will certainly have a very telling impact on control. Add to that some favorable factors like the low level of urbanization and also higher level of immunity in India. Well, this some derisively call gutter immunity, but uh, let's ignore that. What matters is that Indians too seem to be more immune to a new virus. Overall, we'll know as to what contributed how much as more data and understanding emerges. But, friends, for the time being, do feel happy that India has done better than nearly all the other countries. Now, the current situation. Let us not get mired in terms like community spread, herd immunity, or second wave, and so on, because as of now, all this terminology is nothing more than a matter of opinion, or I would say even nitpicking. What is important is what you see on your screen now. The current worry. Cases are rising for the last month or so. It does not matter that they are mostly confined to 5 or 6 states, mainly Maharashtra and Kerala, because experience has shown that the spread to other states can be very quick. Friends, India has done it earlier, and with more experience under our belt, both state and central governments would be able to contain the spread of virus. I'm sure about it. Largely following the mantra of what they are now calling test, track, and treat, or Dawai Bhi, Kadai Bhi. However, I will point out some important aspects which must attract the attention of the governments. First is, as I talked about earlier, local limited area lockdown with strict compliances, I would think, is a must. Greater stress on COVID appropriate behavior, particularly the use of masks, even as social distancing often becomes an exercise in make believe, not always amenable to strict enforcement, but wearing of the mask certainly. And again, most importantly, as so many are now talking about, greater pace of vaccination. I will speak from my personal experience that the pace of vaccination can be doubled or even more than doubled to approximately 50-55 lakh jabs per day without any significant increase in the resources. Of course, given that the required number of vaccines are available, and this can be done only by sharper and smarter intervention of IT services and connectivity. I put together a diagram which is coming up on the screen from my own experience of vaccination. I found that the center where the vaccine is actually administered had hardly any queue. No queue at all, no waiting, and all it took was a minute. to administer the vaccine. But before that, for registration, issuance of a card in which you fill up manually, then in the next room, when you're waiting for vaccination, the wait is actually not because vaccination center is busy, but because you have to fill up a consent form. And all this writing is done by you, checking is done by some administrative staff there, and so on. My simple question is, first of all, there is poor connectivity and site management, the website management at the registration center. It takes time. It should be very quick, and it's possible. Then a mugshot is taken. I have not understood why, because the Aadhaar scan code should be enough. Then why do you need to fill up the cards and the forms manually? Most of the information is there in the system. You should only be ticking or signing. That's it. If these things are taken care of with existing resources, to my mind, the number of vaccinations can be increased to double or even more than double, provided the number of vaccines are available. Just as a sample, this card is coming up on the screen, is all written at the center there by me and then by the administrative staff. This would usually not be required if all the information is already there in the system. While I hope these improvements do take place, in the end, I would also say, as many are saying today, vaccination should be universalized. Why? There are reports that 10 to 15% of the vaccines have been wasted because there were no recipients and the vaccines expired. We cannot afford that. It should be now open to all age groups. Then, are there new strains? We are not very sure, especially in Maharashtra and Kerala. We must find out quickly, because should it require a modified vaccine, it should be possible in shorter time than it took for the earlier vaccine, and we must start working towards that. In the end, friends, if today's program does give you a feel good about our country, do not be sheepish about it. Yes, we have done well, but now it's time not to drop our guard and make sure that this second or third wave, whatever it is also subdued as we have done with the first wave in the past. With this, I will end this program. I hope you liked watching it, and I will be back in Straight Drive Panorama next Thursday. Namaskar.